Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned. So the old Star Trek movies dropped on YouTube for free. So just want to let you know, you can go watch them if you like. And I was wondering, should I review them in order? And the answer is no. The answer is no, because anyone who knows anything about the original Star Trek movies is that 1, 3, and 5, the odd number ones, are terrible. They are terrible. However, I did figure out this weekend, watching some of them, there is a way to enjoy the 1, 3, and 5 of the original Star Trek movies. Is you got to take a tab of LSD when it says also starring James Doohan. That's when you got to take the tab. All right, it's kind of like the Wizard of Oz Pink Floyd thing. Timing matters, because that's the only way you can enjoy those movies, is because if you're tripping balls, because it looks like whoever wrote those movies was tripping balls. And I think Leonard Nimoy was the one who was heavily involved in a lot of that. So just so you know, so I'm not going to do that. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, the Madman. I have social media over here at Denalitsaw. This is the word wasteland spelled backwards on the Twitters. And on Instagram, SLRobbins13. What we got over here? They got the Shock Monkey Radio cash tag. You can send me money through Cash App, or you can become a patron. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio and become a patron today. I'd appreciate it. Yeah. So I want to see if I can crowdsource anything. If you guys want me to change, like want to make a new image that we could put up back here, you could just send me something like just at me on, upload something on Instagram or Twitter and at me. If you want to get a picture of me and like gouge out my eyes and pour poop on me, you know, even if it's an animated GIF, we could use that, right? And it's just me getting slimed or something over and over again. We could put that in the background. So if you hate me that much and you feel like, you know, you're better at Photoshop than I am, I made this, but it was a while ago with a different software. Software changes so freaking fast. I learned new set of software. Anyway. So, if you want to give it a try, you can just at me on social media. That'd be fun. And believe me, I'd use it. I would. Even if it's making fun of me, making me look bad, or if it's just a picture of the rock biter from Neverending Story. I get the joke, and I'd use it. Anyway. I want to give a shout out to another podcast. I Don't Even Like This podcast, our good friend Avery on that show. I watched their last video. I guess you guys record that beforehand and then you schedule it for, okay. Because the closed captioning and everything was on and everything. I was like, oh, this is great. You know? It's all done on. Yeah. And so I thought that was really cool, but there was these little blocks. It'd be like a bracket, underscore. And I'm like, what is that? And so I start tracking what they're saying along with what's going on in the closed captioning. It takes seconds, obviously. And I realize, the closed captioning is not picking up the N-word. And so it blocks it out in its closed captioning. I thought, oh, that's interesting. And I was watching Avery's show, and I realized while I was watching it that Avery has freedom of speech, and I do not. Why is that? If I read the transcript of that show on this show, I bet you there'd be a lot of interesting comments down below, if you know what I mean. So it's not that I want to restrict Avery's freedom of speech. The fact is that I don't have freedom of speech. And why is that? Because of my skin color. And when I started thinking along these lines, I started thinking about George Carlin and his 7 dirty words. And God rest his soul. I mean, I think we need to update the 7 dirty words. Because the N-word's one of them. With an asterisk, isn't it? I mean, the C word for women, that's still on the list, right? You still can't say that. What's the F word for gay people? Can't say that one. With an asterisk. Unless you are a gay people. A phony. Oh, that's PH. Damn it. Couldn't do it right. Anyway. So maybe we need to update the 7 dirty words. And I was thinking about that, about how my friend Avery has freedom of speech and I don't. I felt jealous, you know. Not that I want to say, because even if I could say the N-word, I wouldn't use it that frequently. I bounce around to too many different topics. You know what I mean? I don't stay on one, and I try not to like lean on the same words and the same phraseology at all times. So just to keep things fresh for you. All righty. You got that picture ready, right? That guy. Yeah. So, I think women are brainwashed. I know what you're thinking. He's going to go off on a sexist rant. You can think whatever you want about what I'm saying. And the only reason I'm saying this, because I think that some people need to hear this, and hopefully it will change somebody's mind so you can understand something about the world. But I think women are brainwashed. You got that? Anyway, and I cannot tell you how many arguments I got into over this person in the past, since this all started going down. Anytime. Oh, there we go. This guy. Ever since this guy started beating women in women's boxing, I've gotten in more arguments with women than I care to deal with, than I care to ever. And here's what bothers me about this is that, this guy is beating on women on a global stage, and women in America are defending him. And that baffles me. That boggles my mind. If one of their friends was being beat up by a man, they would want somebody to do something about it. And that's the point. The whole point, the whole impetus of my anger over this situation is based upon, did we are still alive? Okay. My whole anger based upon this situation is chivalry. I feel a chivalrous urge to stop this man from hurting women, unnecessarily hurting women. I'm not saying that I'm against hurting women. Unnecessarily. That's not what I'm saying. But it doesn't have to be like this. Women should be competing against other women because women and men are biologically different. All right? And it wasn't until this issue where I realized that we have a serious problem with women being brainwashed. All right? I understand. I feel that like sin has a lot of intent has a lot to do with sin. All right? And the reason why they do all this, why they support people like this, is because it comes from a good place. It's like, I want to help and support everyone. And that's a good instinct for women to have in the confines of their family. All right. But if you don't really have strong family connections, then the whole world becomes your family. And now you feel like you got to like treat this as your little baby and protect it. That's the way women are. We're built differently. That's the reason for this whole argument. And so when you support a man beating a woman as a woman, you make me feel like you are crazy. And this is not the only issue that they feel like this on. They support, it's the whole trans issue as well. They support that as the trans people make a mockery of everything that is woman. And everything that is woman is the most magical and beautiful thing ever created by God in the universe. Do you understand what I'm saying? This comes from a place of chivalry. They're also pro-Palestine. This guy's a Muslim. And they're like, and nobody's like, why isn't he wearing a hijab if he's a woman? Because he's a dude. That's why. They're pro-Palestine. Why? Because somebody told them a story. It's like, oh, these poor Palestinian children are being killed by the Israelis. And so therefore, they hear dead Palestinian children aborted. If they're aborted, they wouldn't have cared. But dead Palestinian children, Israel's bad. And they don't know anything about Palestine, about Hamas, and how they operate, about how the Palestinians want Hamas in power, and how Hamas stacks women and children against right up next to their weapons caches, depots, their weapons depots, so that when Israel strikes them to destroy their weaponry, lots of women and children get killed so they can come out in front of the cameras that get sent all the way to the West, to our country, where they say, look what the Jews did. This is what they've been doing for centuries. You do not understand the global complexities of this situation, and I'm tired of people thinking that they know more than me about it. I read voraciously. I read so much that I know what that word means. You ignore the truth of Islam. If he were truly a woman or a man or a woman and a man or whatever he is, he would be thrown off a roof. Instead, Algeria is a small Muslim nation that would love to win a gold medal just by lying to a bunch of stupid Westerners that allow this to happen. You don't understand Islam. You don't understand that anybody who's gay to be thrown off a roof. Under Islam, and it's coming if you don't stand up to it. Under Islam, you're going to be wrapped in a tarp and put in a basement and used as a breeding thing. You know? You don't understand the truth of Muslim nations. You don't understand the truth of crime. You don't understand the truth about, especially black people's involvement in crime. There are a lot of black people who are heavily involved in crime. But every single time you watch a cop video, you'll see some lady in the background, some white lady with their phone out. Hey, you don't need to do all that. But if you know a white guy that got arrested, you come to her and you say, we need a fake name for a drug dealer. Blake. No, Cody. And you say, hey, did you hear Cody got arrested? And she's like, of course Cody got arrested. That guy's been slinging that shit ever since I knew him. In fact, that's how I know him. They would assume, yeah, absolutely he's guilty. Why? Because he's a criminal. But because of the color of the skin, it's like, oh, well, there's got to be some sort of injustice or racism happening here. Yes, the racism is happening in you. When you start thinking that it's more likely that the black guy is innocent and more likely the white guy is guilty, yeah, that's racism right there in you. And like I said, it's born out of ignorance and good intentions. And unfortunately, the media exploits that to change the way women think. And this is why I think that they're brainwashed. It's like, even when it comes to immigration, they're like, oh, these poor people just want to have a good life. And then next thing you know, you're getting stabbed or raped somewhere in America, in these American cities, because of all these illegal immigrants. All right. You know what? Did you see that movie Scarface? The Al Pacino movie? I know a lot of you have seen Scarface. That movie is about Cuba emptying out its jails and just shipping them into the United States. And Scarface is one of those people. This is nothing new either. But somehow, women have gotten brainwashed to the point that they are a seriously infuriating part of the electorate. To the point where, like, Kamala Harris might get in there because women do not vote with this. They vote with this. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But when it comes to voting, you need to be using this. You see Kamala Harris and you're thinking, oh, finally, a woman president. And you think just by virtue of her gender, she's going to make America better? No. It is very easy to screw up that job. Don't kid yourself. All right, I may support Trump, but he screwed it up there at the end with the whole COVID thing and the riots and stuff. Instead of saying, like, women shouldn't vote, instead of saying repeal the 19th, because that's my first instinct. So we need to repeal the 19th. Maybe I should say you should have to pass like a 12th grade civics test before you can vote. And that's going to discourage a lot of people from voting. I got to take a test. Screw that. Yeah, go home. You don't really care. And if you're on welfare or something, you can't vote. Sorry. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. I saw a Dennis Miller movie. What was that movie where Ashton Kutcher and Cameron Diaz got married in Vegas, and What Happens in Vegas? Is that the movie where they did the slot machine? They're already breaking up, getting an annulment, and they hits $3 million, and they get into. And Dennis Miller plays the judge, so I got Dennis Miller on the mind. Anyway, you can call me sexist, whatever you want. You can put that dude away. Creeps me out. You know, I think I could beat him in a fight. That's why guys like that compete in those sports, because they couldn't really be competitive in their own proper class. Let's see Wrath of Khan. Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan. I watched it this weekend. It was great. It was every bit as good as I remember. And dated as I remember. I'll get into that. But wow, this movie is so good. You got the... I see. Well, the stakes are so high in this movie. It's fantastic.
I wanted to get all of
yeah, I'm sure.
Without blocking.
Because it's a great image, yeah.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It's
yeah. And the stakes are so high. I mean, it's interesting because it's the whole Genesis project. And the Genesis project, if you know about the film, is this where they can somehow create a matrix in which it could turn inert matter into living matter and all of a sudden, like, bloom life. It's what they call it, like a MacGuffin or whatever. It's basically a finger of God, where we can turn on this device and boom, turn a barren asteroid into a living, breathing planetoid or something like that. It's amazing. All right. It could be a terrible weapon for for evil because of the nature of its matrix, but it could do amazing things in terms of terraforming, which is a big deal when it comes to the next step of a galactic civilization, is being able to terraform other planets. And so that's why the stakes are so high. And because these stakes are so high, and Kirk and Spock and the whole team, they know that, they're concerned about this Genesis project, but they don't know about the Reliant, who's over there on SETI Alpha 6, or was it 7? I forgot. SETI Alpha 6. And they run into Khan Noonien Singh again. And that's the whole great part of this, because this goes back all the way to the series. Because Ricardo Montalban played Khan Noonien Singh in one of the episodes in the series. 1 or 2 episodes, I can't remember. And Ricardo Montalban, classic. They don't really make actors like that anymore. Even though he had that rubber man chest. It's like, it looks like, that's what I mean. It looks kind of dated. Some of the props look dated. Spock's, the mirror in Spock's room. It's like, dude, this is the weirdest early 80s bachelor pad I've ever seen, Spock. And so, you gotta love it, because stakes are so high. And when Khan captures the Reliant and the Genesis, and he comes in contact with Kirk for the first time, and Kirk doesn't know who he's facing. He thinks he's facing a friend. Whew. Spoilers, I guess. I'm ruining this excellent movie if you haven't seen it, but why haven't you? And so he's approaching him, like, not with caution, and just a little bit of like, hey, this is a friendly ship. And boy, Khan's got the jump on him, and woo, he hits the Enterprise hard. A lot of people die. No main characters, don't worry. Just a bunch of red shirts. It doesn't matter. And then they're on their heels for almost the rest of the movie. And it is a fantastic, fantastic battle between these two men, and how, like, Khan gets in Kirk's head and Kirk gets in Khan's head. Khan! How do you not love this movie? And I was even thinking about the captain of the Reliant, what a hero he was, right? And how gypped he got. Because the captain of the Reliant, he got the earwig in with Chekhov, right? And if you remember this scene, right, they're sitting there on the Genesis, in the Genesis place. And they're like, thank you, Captain Kirk. You led us right to them. And Khan orders the captain to shoot Kirk with their phaser. Also, you see a phaser on kill for the first time, I think. And which just vaporized a guy. And you're like, oh, damn, those things are badass. And he says, kill Kirk. And the captain, he just tries to fight it with it just ends up turning the phaser on himself. What a hero. Unsung hero of the movie. And then Chekhov just falls asleep and the thing comes out of his ear. It's like, dude, why don't you just hit him on the head? If all you need is a nap and then the thing will come out. How did Chekhov get off so easy in that? Oh, main character. Main character. So I guess maybe the stakes weren't there very high. But it is an excellent movie. I highly recommend it, even though it's dated. 11 of 13 stars. 11 of 13 stars. God! I thought it was way better when Kirk did it than when what's his name did it in the new one. Ah, hell, am I gonna have to watch those Picard movies too? Ugh. I want to wash my palate with a good movie. I'm kidding. It's actually a little worse. I don't know if you've seen the 1988 movie They Live, but I saw it for the first time this weekend. I know, right? I know you're surprised. I knew about the premise of it for a while. I've heard that it was really good, but I've never actually sat through the whole thing. I've seen bits and clips. I've obviously seen I'm here to kick ass and chew bubblegum, and I'm all out of bubblegum. Everyone's seen that, First of all, it's John Carpenter, so it's like old school John Carpenter. So that explains why the script is so good. And it's Roddy Piper, one of my favorite wrestlers, and but he's chunky now. And by the time he got into acting and stuff like that, he got chunky, and that's fine. And even when he was in what was it? It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He was even a little chonkier, but he's a big dude, beefy dude, and God rest his soul. And so it's basically this guy, like it's the classic 80s movie opener when some drifter comes out of nowhere, some superhero shaped guy comes in. I'm just a drifter from nowhere. I'm looking for a job. All I got is this backpack. It's like, well, I'm I'll sleep on the construction site until I get my first check. And Keith David, I think, hey, I got a place for you to stay. And Keith David, young Keith David, they hang out for a little bit, and they stumble upon this. There's this other B plot going on where eventually they cross paths. Where there's all these sunglasses, these people who are seeing and spotting the truth. And let's just say he stumbles upon these magical sunglasses. And these sunglasses, when you put them on, you see the world as it really is. You see, there's humans and aliens walking around, together, and like there's nothing going on. All the advertisements are commands and, things you must do. Work 8 hours, play 8 hours, sleep 8 hours, reproduce. Marry and reproduce on the billboards. He takes off his glasses and it's a cigarette ad. Marry and reproduce. It's really, really interesting. So he's like this one guy who's on to this. Of course, he has some help along the way. Kind of. And so he starts fighting against this, balls to the wall. It's I'm going to handle this by myself, which is awesome. It's a really excellent premise for a movie. It's a really good script, but lot to be desired in the execution of it. Some of the fight scenes were over choreographed and clearly I don't know, Rowdy Piper got too involved in that. It's trust me, I could do this better than that guy. I could do it. I was a wrestler. I know how all this works. Some of the fight scenes were a little drawn out and poorly done, but it's a really excellent script, and you should see it. I mean, it's what they call a cult classic. I think it's probably one of the original. I don't know. Cult classics go back to the 30s, I'm sure. So They Live, yeah. So my question is there going to be a remake? Is there a remake? They should make a remake of this. But who would you cast? Don't say The Rock. Don't say The Rock. Anyway. 8 of 13 stars. They Live. Sometimes, you watch those old movies and it's they're dated, I don't know if I mentioned this on the show, but I watched Cujo and I was the comment I made on that movie was, one cell phone and there's no movie. If there's one, even a CB radio, there's no movie. Anyway, let's get into news worth knowing. A little early, but that's all right. All right. Harris takes a 3-point lead over Trump as she gains on key issues. Women. Vice President Kamala Harris has taken a 3-point lead over former President Trump as she gains ground on key issues, according to a new poll. The poll, conducted by NPR, PBS, and Marist, fairly biased, found Harris leading Trump 51-48, but still within the margin of error. See, it's that kind of stuff that makes me not want to trust polls. It's they always say it's something, but it's always within the margin of error. So it's all kind of a guess in many ways. Anyway, so Harris has narrowed Trump's lead on key issues like the economy. Okay. Trump still holds a significant 6-point lead when it comes to illegal immigration, according to the poll. Meanwhile, Harris leads on abortion issues by a massive 15 points. The Marist poll was conducted from August 1st to 4th and advertises a margin error of 3.4%. The survey comes days after Fox News poll found Trump and Harris deadlocked in Pennsylvania, a key swing state for the presidential election. State of the race in the Keystone State is similar to where it was in April, when President Biden and Trump were tied 48-48. This survey, released on Friday, shows Harris and Trump locked in a tie in Pennsylvania at 49-49%, barely different from what the final blah, blah, blah. Yeah. The poll further showed Trump closing the gap with voters under 30. Minus 27 points in April to minus 4 points today. Voters 65 and over, minus 5 to minus 1. Suburban women, 32 to minus 12. And those with a college degree, minus 18 to minus 10. Widening slightly among independents, plus 8, plus 9. Math! Numbers! It's interesting. I don't know if I mentioned the racial angle when it came to Kamala Harris. She, not only is she a woman and women will vote for that, it's also because she's two minorities. And all you people saying she's not black is half Jamaican, that counts as black. All right. half Jamaican, half Indian. All right. That's black enough, if you ask me. It's like, why do people argue about this? I mean, granted, she was raised more Indian. Indian. She grew up in like Canada. And when people say grow up, they mean like your formative years, your teenage years, your high school years. That's growing up, So she grew up in Canada, in an Indian family. In the end, the race doesn't matter, and that's the point. It's like neither does her gender matter. But women are going to want to vote for somebody who is a woman, and they're also susceptible to minorities as well. That's why they all voted for Barack Obama. All those people voted for Barack Obama. Why? Because I don't want to look like a racist by not voting for the first black president. I don't want to look like a racist if I don't vote for the first woman president. I don't want to look like a sexist if I don't vote for the first woman president. And that's the kind of nonsense they're hoping for with Hillary. Hopefully it won't work. Hopefully people will see, because it's been like almost 3 weeks, and she hasn't answered any questions from the press. She has not talked. I mean, they were mum with Biden. They're going to be mum with her until the end. That's how it's going to go. Repeal the 19th. No, don't be mean. Don't be mean, man. Civics test. All right. Let's go to the next story. Good riddance to Cori Bush. So squad representative Cori Bush lost, cheered by the right, left sounds off on AIPAC spending. Okay, so controversial Missouri Congresswoman Cori Bush on Tuesday became a second squad member to lose the Democratic primary this year, following Representative Jamal Bowman from New York. Bush, a controversial lawmaker who rose to prominence during the Black Lives Matter movement, was denied a third term when Democratic voters nominated the St. Louis County prosecutor Wesley Bell for the seat that represents St. Louis City and part of the St. Louis County. Pro-Israel groups sent millions to unseat Bush, vocal critic of the war in Gaza and the Jewish state. The many have spoken. The American Israel Public Affairs Committee posted on X after the race was called for Bell. Congratulations to pro-Israel progressive leader at Belformo on your big win against anti-Israel squad member Representative Cori Bush. Bell's campaign received a big boost from the American Israel Public Affairs Committee, whose Super Political Action Committee, United Democracy Project, spent $8.5 million to oust Bush. She was targeted after repeated criticism of Israel's response to the October 7th Hamas attack. It was a game plan that worked earlier this year in New York. In June, United Democracy Project spent $15 million to unseat another squad member, that's Jamal Bowman, who lost to George Latimer, a pro-Israel centrist. AIPAC and our 4.5 million grassroots members are proud to stand with Wesley Bell, the group said. Being pro-Israel is a good policy and good politics. Bush called out AIPAC in her concession speech. All they did is radicalize me, so so they need to be afraid. AIPAC. Oh Lord, AIPAC, I'm coming to tear your kingdom down, Bush declared. Let me put all of these corporations on notice. I'm coming after you too. Wow. Bush's defeat was welcomed by conservatives and those who support Israel. Congresswoman Cori Bush becomes, this is a quote, becomes the second squad member to lose primary this election cycle. She and Jamal Bowman are free to join Hamas together. Outkick founder Clay Travis posted on X. Next up, Ilhan Omar said, hi, Rychek. Lib's a TikTok lady. The squad is too radical even for Democrats. That sums it up. And I like her. She's a smart woman. You gotta, God bless reasonable Democrats. This anti-Israel thing that's been going on for far too long, that needs to be shut down. That stuff is craziness. It's this weird racism, People like crying racism all over the place and they can't see where it actually is. And so it bothers me. It bothers me hardcore. And so I'm not saying I would say I would rather have a Republican replace these people, but if the Democratic Party becomes less crazy, you might be able to save face. The Democratic Party, I feel like, may just disappear one day at the rate you're going, because you're getting so crazy and you're harnessing up all the crazy horses. it's going to go the way of the Whig Party or something like that. It might just disappear and become something else. Who knows? So, you got to save your party. All right. Don't worry about us. We're okay for now. Anyway, let's go across the pond. Talk about the UK. Now, when it comes to countries like Australia, UK, Canada, it's good to keep an eye on them because they're kind of like a canary in the coal mine when it comes to what's coming for the United States. So let's talk about the violent UK protests that have continued for the 7th day in response to the deaths of 3 young girls. So protests have continued across the United Kingdom on Monday after days of riots in response to the stabbing deaths of 3 young girls last week, which has plunged the country into the worst unrest it has seen in years. In one video that surfaced on social media, a mob of Palestinian flag-carrying rioters were seen swarming a couple of hatchback vehicles in Birmingham while a man shouted into a bullhorn and directed the crowd on what to do. At one point, one of the cars is seen to be driving through the mob and then onto the grass and then onto another portion of the road and fleeing the scene. In another video, a different group of anti-Israel protesters were seen marching past a British pub while a man stood outside. The man can't be heard saying anything in the clip, but at one point he throws his arms to his side, appearing to taunt the protesters. One of the protesters confronts a man and the two put up their fists before the protester punches the man. Man falls to the ground, only held up by a picnic table, when another protester approaches him and kicks the man in the torso. Several others join in, some holding Palestinian flags while kicking and hitting the man. In Plymouth, a crowd was seen gathered in front of a line of police officers in riot gear. As night began to fall, fireworks were lit and violent fights broke out. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, forgive me if I got that wrong, on Monday said a standing army of specialist police will be set up to deal with the rioting and that the justice system will be ramped up to deal with the hundreds of arrests after violent disorder rocked cities across the nation over the past week. Quote, whatever the apparent motivation, this is not a protest, it is pure violence and we will not tolerate attacks on mosques or our Muslim communities, Starmer said on Monday. The full force of the law will be visited on all those who are identified as having taken part. Riots and protests involving hundreds of people created in the chaos in towns and cities across the country. Dozens of police officers have been hospitalized for injuries over the past 6 days, struck with bricks, bottles, chairs, large wooden posts. On Sunday, angry mobs attacked 2 hotels used to house asylum seekers, breaking windows and lighting fires before police dispersed crowds and residents were evacuated. Okay, so let's see. They're attacking mosques, attacking hotels used to house asylum seekers. Okay. Who are we dealing with here? So Starmer blamed the violence on misinformation spread on social media that sparked outrage over stabbing that left 3 young girls dead and others wounded at a Taylor Swift-themed dance event in the town of Southport. Okay. We're starting to get a story now. False social media posts claimed that they suspected the attacker was a radical Islamist, who had recently arrived in Britain, Reuters reported. Police, however, identified the attacker as 17-year-old Axel Ruda Kubana, who was born in Wales to Rwandan parents, and said authorities are not treating the incident as terror-related. Suspects under 18 are typically not named in the UK, but the judge in the case ordered the suspect be identified to stop the spread of this misinformation. The teen has been charged with 3 counts of murder and 10 counts of attempted murder. 10 counts. Whew. So that's 3 kills, 10 wounded. Okay, let's read the rest of this and we'll talk about it. Spokesperson for Starmer said on Monday that social media companies have not done enough to prevent the spread of misinformation, and some of that false, misleading information has come from foreign states. I don't think so. A Rwandan, likely Muslim. All right. They're attacking the mosques. They're attacking these immigrants. Why? Because Muslims ruin any nation. They ruin any nation they're in. Every Muslim nation is awful. And as soon as the population starts getting above 10% of Muslim people, you start having stuff like this happening. You see that the powers that be, the prime minister or whatever, it was looking out for the Muslims, trying to protect the Muslims. Why? Because that's what he has to do. That's what he thinks he has to do. He doesn't care about the UK citizens, the actual people native born. And they're like, oh, he was native born. Yeah, he's children of immigrants. Those anchor babies, you know what I mean? They continue to make their society worse. These immigrants, these asylum seekers that they get put up in hotels. All right? And people are going to get furious about that. They're going to start getting mad when they start getting murdered, when their children start getting murdered, and they don't do anything about it. It's, well, we can't prosecute them. They're Muslim. It's like, well, why aren't you prosecuting people who are Muslim? Because the Muslims will riot. That's why. I don't think that violence is the answer, but it's going to get to that point unless the government actually starts facing these issues correctly. And like I said, these things are the canary in the coal mine when it comes to our country. You're going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing people, and then people are going to get hurt. People are going to get killed. People are already dying. Just pay attention to what's coming. I don't know about you, but I read a lot of stuff. All right, let's go to this next story. Law and order. We need law and order. Oakland Police Union urges mayor to resign immediately over failures in the city. Police union representing officers in Oakland, California, is calling for Mayor Sheng Tao to resign immediately, citing a lack of resources for police to respond to reports of criminal activity. Oakland Police Officers Association President Hoy Gwen, forgive me, I'm bad at those Asian names, said at a news conference on Tuesday, a union is asking for Tao to resign as mayor for immediately for the failures of the city, going from crime, the budget, the crisis, the distraction of the FBI raid that prevents the ability to function as a city. Every day, our citizens feel the tragedies. They cannot exit their own home or walk the streets of Oakland, calling 911 and not getting the services they need. Gwen continued. Gwen said officers are unable to respond to every emergency call, or that they have slower response times because the police department is understaffed. We don't have the resources, he said. Tao released a video statement later on Tuesday in response to Gwen's comments, in which she said crime in Oakland has declined. Quote, it's unfortunate that a POA is obviously playing politics, Tao said. Right now, during a very sensitive time, we need to come together. We see that what we are working on in terms of comprehensive approach for public safety is working. It's just business as normal. Business as usual. That's all she's saying. Get on board. That's all she's saying. Mayor emphasized that Tao's budget prioritized public safety, funded new police academies and saved 80 police jobs, but the union said it's not sufficient. This is a time to invest more in the city, hire more police officers, retain the police officers, and fix the crime issue. And going forward, that's what we'd like to see from the next mayor, Oakland's POA president Tom Dolan said. A recall effort to remove Tao from office is underway, although the police union said that she could go ahead and step down and save time and the resources the recall would require. All right. Yeah, they want her like immediately. Yeah. So, this is happening all over the country, in nations all over the in cities all over this country. It's this defund the police thing. This started, I guess, under like the Black Lives Matter thing. Now it's really starting to hurt the pocketbooks, the bottom line now. I guess 2020 is when it all started. So now it's getting serious. It's getting, there's people getting murdered. You're waiting. You're on hold with 911. You know what I'm saying? Or it just rings and rings and rings at 911. No pickup, no answering machine, nothing. And eventually you're going to have people leaving the cities. And you should leave the cities until they get this stuff under control, until they get this, under a handle on this. Oakland is a similar canary in the coal mine kind of thing. It's coming soon to a city near you. Because if you keep on pursuing this and let the criminals take over the streets, you're going to have a real problem. And, you know that alternate timeline Marty McFly went to? And, he came across, he's like, Strickland's there with a bulletproof vest and a shotgun in his face. You the guy that keeps stealing my newspapers? And then a bunch of, hey, Strickland, a guy just starts shooting at him. And, you slackers! And start shooting the shotguns at him. That's the kind of world you're headed towards if you don't do something about this. you understand that timeline that they were in? There was lawlessness. There wasn't enough police around. All because of Biff Tannen's corrupt city. You see what I'm saying? It's all based on real things. Anyway, holy cow, let's get like some lighter subjects. So, lottery winner won't give brother a big chunk of money as the family is torn apart. Could you imagine this, dude? Like if you won the lottery and your brother like, why aren't you giving me money? Could you imagine that?
No.
Yeah, I imagine you don't want to.
I feel like I would just give the money.
All right, well, how much are we talking about? Does it matter?
Depends on how much I made and how much was being asked for.
Okay. A woman writing on Reddit about a personal dilemma involving a lottery win and a financially desperate brother was deemed not in the wrong by the majority of users. I don't care what they think. Post received 36,000 reactions and 15,000 comments in less than a day. Describing herself as 28 years old, the woman called herself Vederick, wrote that she recently won a significant amount of money in the lottery. It wasn't a jackpot, but it was enough to make a big difference in my life, around $500,000. Okay, we got an amount. She said she's always been pretty careful with money, and I planned to use it to pay off my student loans, put a down payment on a house, and maybe start a small business I've dreamed of. Then a family member found out about her winnings. Things got complicated, apparently. My brother found out about my winnings through our parents. She wrote about her 32-year-old brother. He's an older brother. Oh, he's a loser. That's the problem. He's been struggling financially for years due to poor money management and some bad luck, and he has a lot of debt. The brother called her and went on and congratulated me, she said, then immediately asked if I could help him by giving him $30,000 to pay off the debts and get back on his feet. Sister wrote that she sympathized. I feel like giving him such a large amount of money wouldn't really solve his problems in the long term. She said she's seen him blow through money before, and I worry that this is just be another cycle. She told him, she wrote in her post that she'd be willing to help him create a budget plan and help him with a smaller amount, like $5,000, to help with immediate needs. But he got really upset. She said that he accused me of being selfish and not caring about family. The woman added that her parents are split on the issue, but mom thinks that I should help him out because family helps family. But my dad agrees that my brother needs to learn to manage his own finances. She wrote on the platform, I feel conflicted because I do care about my brother, but I also believe in being responsible with my money and making sure it lasts. So she asked others if she was wrong for not giving my brother a larger portion of my lottery winnings despite his financial struggles. And so here we are at the crux of the matter. She right or is she wrong?
Her vernacular is wrong.
How's that?
Large.
Large?
6% is not
no,
large.
I agree.
Sum.
I agree. What'd you do? Calculate everything?
Yes.
I agree.
Her counteroffer was $5,000, which is 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
So whether it's right or wrong for her to donate the money or give him the money or whatever, he's bad with money, whatever. It's not a large chunk.
I agree.
It is 6%.
Yes.
Second observation.
Eat
this up.
EK.
Is I would just clear my family's debts.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
It has nothing to do with him managing money.
Right. I would clear my family's debts. Once that's done, maybe life insurance policies on everybody.
Right.
That'd be what I would do. And if there's any like money left over, yeah, we could split it up.
Right.
I really don't care.
In the future, borrow against your life insurance policy.
That's what I mean. It's like there are plenty of other smart things you could do.
Right. And
help your family out.
But using 6% to clear his debt, yeah, you could help your family.
Here's the thing, though. What if it's like her dad said to her, "It's like if you give him $30,000, he's going to go straight to Vegas and blow like half of it." You know, that's a big chunk of money. You could do something like that. If you had $30,000, you can hop on a plane, go to Vegas, and lose it all.
See, I wouldn't give the money directly though either.
Right. I would do something like...
you need to write the check to clear your debt.
Exactly. Clear your debts, help them clear their debts, get some life insurance policies. With $500,000, that would be my priorities. You know? It wouldn't be like, I won $500,000, I'm going on vacation right away. I wouldn't do that. I would take like a month off of work and come up with a plan to say, like, how to make that money work for me. I don't know. I guess these people are just dumb. I wonder, like, of the 1,500 comments is like I'm sure somebody said, why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Like suggestions we gave. All right. Oh, no. Bad link.
Final story?
Yeah. Is it coming up for you?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Nope. Oh, now it works. All right. Reddit user kicked out of a wedding reception by ordering pizza when bride's family devours buffet. You ever You've seen those big people, right? And their families? Like, they're all big. All right. You starting to get the idea? All right, so.
Reddit favor given favor by having permission to leave wedding early after not enough food was prepared.
I agree with that. We'll get to the story first. Reddit user kicked out of a wedding after he ordered pizza. When the reception ran out of food, and should have been more discreet and behaved himself better. An etiquette expert told Fox News Digital, although the story does have a happy ending. Am I the asshole for ordering pizza at my friend's wedding because there was no food? Adorable Distance 15. Good name. In a recent post said, am I the a-hole subreddit? An advice for him. In the post, the man said he and his wife recently attended his friend's wedding, which had about 70 guests, mostly family. When we got there, we were seated at a table with some other people. Nice people. We mingled well and had a good time chatting. The wedding was also quite nice. Both my friend and his new wife were very happy, she said. He said, I guess it's a dude. After the wedding ceremony, tables were given, all given 2 bottles of wine, bread and butter, and the bar was opened. The food came out and looked really good, he said. Noting that the wedding was reception was buffet style. I was half buzzed and looking forward to get some food in my belly. When the dinner began, you can just keep drinking, dude. The dinner began. Tables were then called up for the buffet a few at a time. Yeah, I've been there. Like they call a table up, go to the buffet. The first few tables were called and were understandably the family on both sides. This, however, is when the problems began. No, now I don't, this is him saying, now I don't shame people on how much they eat, but I noticed the helpings of food they had was while I was patiently waiting for us to be called. I also noticed that they went for seconds before the tables were called and no one stopped them. Ooh. At the time, Adorable Distance 15 said that while he thought the behavior was rude, he assumed that there was a lot of food. He added, to my surprise, by the time we were called, there was nothing left. After grabbing the scraps that were left, we were all still pretty hungry and a bit angry, so we kind of bash-talked that first few tables ate all the food. After someone suggested getting pizza, Adorable Distance 15 had a drunken idea of ordering some. So we all pitched in and ordered 4 large pizzas and some chicken wings from a local pizza joint close to the venue, and didn't take long to get delivered. I met the guy outside and brought the food to our table, and we started to eat. The other tables of hungry people noticed the pizza, so we shared with them. This caused some commotion, apparently, and people began asking the wedding party if there were more pizzas available. You know what? The fatties wanted more. They wanted some pizza, too. I guarantee it. My friend came to talk to me about why I ordered the food. His bride was not happy about it. So I told him that we're not going to eat. We didn't get to eat and that the food ran out long before our table was called and we were really hungry. What were we supposed to do, starve? But the wedding's dramatics continued with the bride's father noticed the leftover pizzas. This is maybe where I was the a-hole, he wrote. There were 2 slices left and I knew he was eyeing them. I asked the other people at my table if they wanted one. Everyone declined and then the guy said he'd have one. I then took the 2 slices, put them on my plate, and started to eat them. I then looked at him and said something like, no, you and everyone at your tables had way more of your fair share of the buffet, and he ate all of it. He misspelled fair. F-A-R-E. This is the reason why we ordered food in the first place, and now you have the nerve to ask us to share. At the time, he did not know it was the bride's father. The man's face went red, and he immediately returned to his table. A lot of discussion going on there. The bride looked even more ticked off. She had a bit of an argument with my friend, and he eventually came back to tell us we had to leave. I didn't mean to start any problems, so me and my wife called a cab and left. A few days after the wedding, a friend called and shared his side of the story. He agreed that his in-laws were really rude for eating all the food and leaving most of the other guests with very little, he said, mentioning that half the guests left the wedding reception once there was no food left. Damn. He was upset because with his in-laws because they told him how many guests there would be and they had to order food for that many people. Reddit writer continued, he brought this up with his wife and said that apparently because the in-laws paid for the alcohol and food, they felt entitled to eat all they wanted. She was really mad at them and reamed them out for tainting her special day. Well, that's good, I guess. In an update to the post, he wrote that his friend's wife was more upset than he initially said, but not at him. She was angry with her family. Okay. He also said that he wanted to apologize for booting me. To make up for the wedding reception issues, her father-in-law is planning to throw an after-wedding shindig for everyone who was at the original wedding, plus other people. That's cool. Father-in-law also promised that there will be a large assortment of food. He also wanted to personally let me know there will be 50 large pizzas from the same joint I ordered from. That is his way of adding some humor to the situation. Lisa Gachet, founder of the... this is what other people think about it. You know, you got to be bold, you know, and like kick dirt on somebody's shoes. You know what I mean? That's the whole point of like the kicking dirt on the umpire's shoes in baseball is like, you know, screw you. I know this is your party, but screw you. You know, I understand it's a wedding and everyone's been drinking all morning and everyone wants to get a bunch of food in their belly because they're going to be continuing drinking. I get it. All right. I've been to weddings. All right. But they're your family. You should know that you had a limited amount because you're paying for the wedding. And they should have respected that. And of course, she was also mad at her family, more mad at them than they were at the people who ordered the pizza. In fact, that's why they're doing what they're doing. That's why they're resolved this way. It's because it's like, you were right. Somebody else did you wrong. And you should have ordered pizza. You were hungry. It's like the free wine. I get it. You're a buzzing. I get it. You know, the bar was open and you're waiting for everybody to be calling. It's like, well, I guess I'm going to get another drink since we're waiting for them to go get their seconds. I understand. You got to make a fuss. I understand it's the special day and all that. But you got to make some kind of fuss. You got to make some sort of civil disobedience. And that's all that was. Ordering the pizzas was just a little bit of civil disobedience and kicking dirt on their shoes and saying, you know, we're hungry. They're mad. Well, I want some pizza too. The buffet wasn't as good as I thought it'd be. Anyway, I'm just trying to get uninvited from a wedding. I'm going to tell you, I start going to weddings, I'm going to start making a stink. I'm going to ruin your special day, ladies, so don't invite me to your wedding. Anyway, this is going to be the end of the show. I want to remind you again that I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would very much appreciate it. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Follow me on social media over here at Denalitsaw, that's the word wasteland, spelled backwards, on Twitter, and at slrobbins13 on Instagram. And please stop trying to direct message me on Instagram. I don't want to talk to you. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman, and I love you.